It's week 2. We're going to kick it off here. So this is my favorite week because we're going to dive even deeper into the diet aspects. But before we get there, I just want to recap real quick with you guys. I know that there's a few of you that have kind of jumped in a little bit late and are catching up. So as you catch up on webinars, I like to do these just quick week recap reminders. So here we are, a week into it so far. Tomorrow is going to be kind of like the start of week 2, or I guess today is the start of week 2. I'm going to be posting up in the Facebook group to see how many points that you guys have so far and what things that you can get better at. And I have some prizes to give away too. So make sure you tally up your points. So remember, we're going through till the end of the day on November 22nd. Last week we really talked about removing the most toxic and inflammatory foods from the diet. Those are the things that I really wanted you guys to kind of focus on, get good at, kind of get over some of the hurdles for those of you that are doing this for the first time with some of the detox reactions from eliminating gluten and dairy and sugar and soy and alcohol. So you should all be feeling a little bit more clear-minded this week, even those of you who have been doing this for a while and are kind of cleaning it up yourselves. Hopefully most of you are moving past any of those detox symptoms if you're experiencing them. Remember, those can last up to 8 to 10 days, so you're kind of at the end of the tunnel here with any of that stuff. And we're also focusing on including those natural cleansing foods, so the raw beets, grapefruit, dandelion greens. I know that there's been a few questions about those. Just want to clarify with the raw beets specifically that when I talk about raw beets, I'm talking about just anything that's not in a can. So you guys can actually cook your beets if you want to put them in dishes or whatever on salads. You can eat them raw, shred them, make a slaw out of them, shred them and put them on salads or throw them into smoothies. But raw doesn't mean that they actually have to physically be raw. I just want you to be eating them not out of a can, like fresh beets essentially. And make sure that you guys are using some of those recipe guides that I gave you on the virtual bag page to help you if you feel stuck about how to incorporate the raw beets, grapefruit, and dandelion greens. Remember, the dandelion detox tea is a way to do that too if you're not a big fan of eating the dandelion greens. And then also make sure you guys are being mindful of other natural cleansing types of activities. So getting in your water intake, which is half of your body weight in ounces. So remember, if you weigh 200 pounds, that means you should be drinking at least 100 ounces a day. For every 30 minutes of exercise, you want to add an extra 8 ounces on top of that, or for every cup or caffeinated drink, you want to add an extra 8 ounces on top of that. Doing your 30 minutes or more of exercise. So tomorrow you guys are going to get the Wednesday workout tip and be able to use those furniture sliders that I put in your goodie bag. So would love to hear about on the Facebook group how you guys are doing with some of those exercises if you have any questions about them. If you're feeling sore from them or what you guys are thinking about those 30-minute exercises, if they're doing you good. Also getting to sleep by 10 p.m. We're going to talk more about this next week as well, like the importance of this. But if you're going to bed later, just slowly starting to shift towards that 10 p.m. time. Like maybe every night you shift by 15 minutes till you get to that point. If you're kind of staying up naturally later, or that's kind of been your habit lately. And remember the bonus point opportunities to do the liver flushing and the castor oil pack. So Beverly posted this week on the Facebook group that she did her liver flushing over the weekend. Would love to see the rest of you guys give this a try. For any of you guys that are a little bit nervous about it, you can always, especially with the quick flush, which is the one that you do like once a week for 4 to 6 weeks, that one you can cut the amounts in half. So instead of doing 4 ounces of oil and 4 ounces of juice, you can make the drink a little bit smaller. You can do 2 ounces of oil, 2 ounces of the citrus juices to kind of get you started and ease into it. That's totally okay. And of course, make sure that you guys are racking up the easy points by doing your castor oil packs at nighttime, which can be super relaxing, especially if you're working in any meditation aspects for like your personal goals that you got to set, and then obviously listening to the webinar. So for those of you that are on live tonight, you certainly are getting points for being on the webinar tonight. So maybe make sure that you write that down. And then also, if you guys are listening to the recordings, there's a little quiz that you can fill out, like a 2-question quiz, just to validate that you were on the webinar, you listened to it, and then you can write down your points for that too. So I'll just pause here for a second. See, Kristen's on, Beverly's on. I want to check in with you guys. Do you guys have any questions about any of the activities right now? Of course, if nothing's coming to mind, you can type in your questions and I'll answer them as we go through the webinar tonight, or at the end as well. But just want to make sure you guys are doing good with this stuff. I think Beverly's probably right on this. Is like the third time. She said the castor oil pack sometimes gives me red bumps. That can be somewhat normal, Beverly. Like, I know my skin looks a little bit red afterwards, and it usually will go away like within, a little bit of time after the castor oil pack. So as long as you don't feel like you're having an allergic reaction to it, then it should be totally fine. And it's probably somewhat from the heating pad too, because I think you said you were starting to use a heating pad this time around. So that could be normal just from like the amount of heat that's going there, and the skin is like opening up the pores to absorb the oil too for that. All right, so let's dive in this week, you guys. This is, like I said, my favorite week because this is when we get to start like leveling up and taking the diet to the next level. So one of the things that you guys were kind of tasked to do in the beginning was fill out those 2 different assessments, and the metabolic typing assessment is really going to come in handy for you this week. So if you haven't done it yet, make sure that you go in and do it, because this is how you're going to dial your diet in even more specifically and support your body in the ways that it needs it most in order to cleanse properly. Remember last week, we talked about kind of the anatomy of cleansing and how important it is that we have all of these like essential nutrients to support our body in its natural detoxification process. Well, in order for our body to like utilize those nutrients properly, and also to reduce inflammation in our system, we need to be eating like the right portions of proteins, fats, and carbs for our body specifically. So metabolic typing was developed by Dr. Bill Wolcott, and it's very similar to Eat Right for Your Blood Type, if you guys are familiar with that book or that concept at all. Essentially what it's based upon is your genetic makeup. So think of metabolic typing as a sliding scale. You have protein types that are on one side, and then you have carbohydrate types that are on the other side. These are the kind of 2 extremes, and then you have a mixed type that's in the middle. And you can kind of slide along the scale and like, be a really strong protein type like myself, or maybe you're kind of in the middle of protein type and a mixed type where you have more tendencies toward protein, but you still have tendencies of mixed type, or same things go for carbohydrate types. And one of the things too is for some of you guys that have been in the Cleanse Challenge or been doing this work with me before, you can have like a beginning type that you start with, because that's like how you habitually were eating, and your metabolic type can actually evolve and change and present itself as its true type later on. So metabolic typing is based upon your genetic makeup. Just to give you guys a visual of kind of how this works is, if you think about it, our ancestors, like we have the genes of our ancestors, and based upon food availability for them, their bodies adapted to eat, a certain ratio of these proteins, carbs, and fats, and to use that fuel the best. It's just like our, we have different cars, like really high, performance cars need like the supreme fuel versus like your everyday, car that you drive. Like I have a RAV4 Toyota, like it just needs regular fuel. And so it's all about getting the engine to run more efficiently. So if you have ancestors that were Eskimos, for example, like indigenous Eskimos, or even still are Eskimos, that's part of your blood. If you think about it, like I remember so vividly learning in like history classes and stuff like that, like they really lived off of and based upon even their food availability now, like higher protein diets. Like they would, kill whales and live off of whale meat and whale blubber for like months on end. So these really high fat, high protein diets, and because of the environment there, they don't have a lot of fruits and carbohydrates that are available to them. It's much more dependent on proteins and fats versus, ancestors or people that live in like South America, where I actually am right now calling it to you guys from Guatemala here. There's an abundance of fruit everywhere and all types of vegetables like corns and rice, like much more availability of carbohydrates than there are meat. They don't have as much wild game to hunt, and then they eat lighter meat like fish, for example. So they're kind of more carbohydrate types. So their body has adapted to run or fuel off of that. Now, most people overall are protein types, but there are smaller portion of the population out there that are carbohydrate types, and then we have the mixed types in the middle. So what this means is part of like what is super essential for you guys to reduce inflammation in your body, to reduce the overall load that your body is experiencing, is to be providing it with the right ratios of protein, carbs, and fats that your body needs for fuel. And how this works is, for example, a protein type, they metabolize carbohydrates really fast automatically. So if they were to have a meal just based upon like a big amount of carbohydrates or carbohydrates alone, the body metabolizes that really quickly, and it shoots this like all this like food sugar into the bloodstream, and then you get this spike in blood sugar. And so then all of a sudden you come crashing down with that. So protein types need fat and protein to kind of slow down the metabolism of that, so you get a nice steady release of sugar into the blood. And this is important because when blood sugar drops, so whatever goes up must come down. So spiking the blood sugar, when it drops, then that your body responds in creating cortisol, which affects our inflammation. So then we get these variances in our blood sugar. It's like a roller coaster. It throws off our cortisol hormone, and that in turn throws off all of our other hormones, creating kind of a stress load in our system, and the body cannot allocate resources to detoxification. Inversely with carbohydrate types, what happens is that they automatically metabolize carbohydrates really slow, and so when you throw too much protein and fat in the mix, it slows down that metabolism even more, because fats and proteins take longer to metabolize. So then they're not getting enough food sugar into the bloodstream. It drops their blood sugar too low. It feels like a rock in their stomach, and then again it creates that chaos with hormones and our blood sugar all over again. So if you guys, again, haven't done the metabolic typing questionnaire, please go and do this. This is essential for this week. It's really going to help you. Whenever I work with clients on this is like a big aha moment. There's this misconception out there that we should be eating 6, meals or snacks a day, and really we're not supposed to. That's not how our ancestors lived. They had to hunt and gather and conserve food all the time, so they would eat like 3 meals a day. When you've dialed in your metabolic type, you should be able to go 3 to 5 hours without feeling hungry, just totally feeling satiated, like good energy. And that means that you've balanced your blood sugar. That means that you've reduced inflammation, and that your body is getting the exact amount of fuel that it needs. So as you guys go through the assessment, this will be something that we can cover in our Ask the Expert session, your bonus session you have with me. But as you do that too, you can notice how you respond to these questions. If the majority of your answers are A's, that means that you're a protein type. So you want to consume about 45% protein, 35% carbs, and 20% fats and oils. And this does not require any calorie counting. I'm going to show you guys in just a second here how you're going to know what your ratios look like. If you answered mostly B's, then that means that you're a carbohydrate type. So you do better with less protein, about 20%, more focus on carbs, 70%, and 10% fats and oils. And then if you are unsure, or you kind of answered like your A and B answers are very close or tied to each other within 2, that means that you're a mixed type. So about 40% protein, 50% carbs, and 10% fats and oils. And when I say carbohydrates, I'm talking about primarily fruits and vegetables. I'm not talking about pasta or bread or any of that kind of stuff. And then gluten-free, like good alternatives. So sweet potatoes, quinoa, rice, those kinds of things. But we want to really shift our focus over fruits and vegetables for where we're getting our carbohydrates. So part of how you guys are going to figure this out is by using what I call the food and body language log. And this is a handout that you guys will be able to download tomorrow along with the recording, and I'll post it up in the Facebook group as well. So what you're going to do with this food and body language log is you're going to start writing down what you're eating and then assessing your body's reactions to help you figure out the ratios of protein, carbs, and fats that you should be eating. So again, like I mentioned earlier, this is not about calorie counting. This is about kind of eyeballing your plate. So when you make your dinner tonight or tomorrow, or you make your breakfast, I just want you to look at the ratios that are on your plate. You know, you have a big, huge chunk of chicken and then like maybe a cup of two of vegetables, and your fats can come from maybe the animal proteins, like the fat on your steak or your chicken that you're eating, whatever that might be, and then it's the oils that you guys are cooking with. So as long as you're cooking with oils, maybe adding avocado to things, eating animal meats, you don't really have to worry about the 10% of fats that are going to be in here. Really look at your ratio of protein to like carbs. So what is taking up the most room on your plate? Is it proteins or is it carbohydrates? So what you guys are going to do is you're going to log a couple of your meals, about 6 to 10 meals, to really figure this out. And I have an example here. So this is my typical breakfast. So I have usually 2 eggs, a slice of bacon, and a cup of kale that I kind of cook up together. And then I have a smoothie with like some fruits, a banana, raspberries, celery stalk, maybe some protein powder, and coconut milk. So this is leaning more towards a protein type. Like I have 2 eggs, bacon, and I'm adding protein powder to my smoothie. So the bulk of this is definitely protein. It's a very like smaller or like a smaller amount of carbohydrates. So you guys are going to write down what you ate over here in the left column. And then in the next column over, you're going to kind of notate what your ratio was. So is that more of a protein type, carbohydrate, or mixed type of that meal that you had? And then you're going to go through and you're going to assess these 3 different areas. So you're going to assess your satisfaction from this meal. What was all of the positive reactions that your body gave you? Did you feel full and content? You had no sweet cravings. And then what was all the negative reactions that your body gave you? Did you feel physically full but still hungry afterwards? That would be excess fat and protein. So XS means excess, and then F means fat, and P means protein. If you needed to snack afterwards, that means excess carbohydrates and not enough food. So you're going to wait about 30 minutes to 2 hours to assess how you feel after each meal. You're also going to assess your energy level. Did you feel recharged? Your energy is even. It's not radically up or down. What are potentially the negative reactions? The energy is not improved. Maybe you feel wired but tired. And then you're also going to assess your mood. We don't realize how much food actually affects our mood. So do you feel uplifted? Is your mind clear? Or do you feel anxious and irritable, which means there's too many carbohydrates in that plate meal, or your stomach heavy? So once you write this down and you get this feedback, then you can make adjustments. So one of the things that I recommend doing to eat like the same meal 2 times in a row with just small adjustments based upon whatever it is that your body is telling you. So based upon the meal that I ate, if I was getting notations here, like let's say I felt I desired for something sweet, and so that was excess fat and protein. So the next day, what I could do to modify that is maybe I only have 1 and no bacon, or I take out the scoop of protein powder that's in the shake. Like I reduce the amount of protein that I'm having. I eat that meal with that reduced amount of protein, and then I assess myself all over again to see what improved here. Am I still getting feedback that I'm desiring something sweet, or is everything feel super balanced? So as you get this feedback from your body, you continue to make these modifications until you get to the point where this meal feels really good for you, and then you just know that moving forward. 1 slice of bacon, a cup of kale, and your smoothie with maybe a quarter of a scoop of protein. Uh-oh. Are you still there? It says I lost the connection. Can you still hear me? Okay. Connection's restored. Hey, Beverly or Kristen, can you guys know you can hear me? Okay. All right. Did I lose you at some point in time so I know where to pick up because I was on a roll there? All right. I think we're good. I can hear you. Okay. Perfect. So, like I said, like you guys are just going to continue to play around with your meals until you get to that point where you're getting really great feedback from them. And also, um, okay, thanks, Kristen. You guys are getting really great feedback. And again, like I said, like kind of the key thing, you should be able to go 3 to 5 hours without feeling hungry, and your energy should be maintained during that time. So keep playing with this, keep looking at kind of feedback that you're getting from it, and let me know what kind of questions you have on the Facebook group so we can help you figure this out. And once you figure it out, you're going to know this for the rest of your life. All you have to do is whenever you're out at a restaurant or with friends or making meals at home, you're going to be able to eyeball your plate and know exactly what your body needs without having to count a single calorie. It's amazing. So let's talk about the hunger and fullness scale too a little bit, because this definitely comes into play, and this is all about creating like mindfulness and being consciously aware of how your body is feeling when you're eating. So part of need to pay attention to is not only the foods we're eating, but also who we are being when we're eating, because these can affect some of the responses our body is giving us about food. It also can affect digestion, digestive stress, and inflammation in our body, and the absorption of nutrients. So we live in a society now where it's become way too acceptable to constantly be eating on the go. When we eat fat, or we're not paying attention, we're not having mindfulness around our meals. So I want you guys to kind of start thinking about this concept of recognizing hunger and fullness, having this mental scale of 1 to 10 time you sit down and to eat. And what I want you to do is be planning to eat when your hunger is at a level 2. So start noticing what kinds of signs your body gives you around hunger. Like, do you notice that your energy starts to drop, or maybe you feel a headache coming on, or you start to get irritable? And whatever that is, like, think 2 steps before that, and what is happening then? Are you starting to think about food? Is your stomach starting to growl? And that's actually when we should be preparing for food, because remember, this delivery of nutrients is super essential for us to support a detoxification process. If we wait too long to eat, our blood sugar is dropping, we're lacking nutrients, and we're not fueling our body in the way that it needs most. So plan to eat when those hunger signs are at level 2. And then on the other side of that, when you are eating, let's start paying attention to our fullness, because when we overeat, we create a lot of digestive load, and then we can't absorb nutrients like we should properly either. So again, using that scale of 1 to 10, planning to stop eating when you're at a level 7. So you feel full and satiated, but not overly stuffed. Not to the point where you feel like bloated or like you need to unbutton your pants. So this is really going to help you guys, again, like get feedback from the food and body language log that you can download tomorrow with the webinar recording. Again, you're going to know when you've really dialed in your ratios of carbs, proteins, and fats, and also your hunger and fullness. You're able to go about 3 to 5 hours without feeling hungry. To help you prepare for some of this too, like I said, it's really important to make sure that you're going too long without eating, having those drops in your blood sugar. We want to make sure that we're constantly delivering nutrients to the body. So with that, maybe plan to have some snacks with you. And remember, your snacks should also be a good ratio of protein, fats, and carbohydrates as well. So not just an apple, like pair that with some peanut butter or hummus and carrots together, or maybe some jerky or something on the side as well, something that's going to go with that. And then also, like, to help you guys, like a couple of tips to honor your fullness is making a physical kind of taking physical action to acknowledge the fact that you're full and you're done. So maybe pushing your plate away, covering it with a napkin, or announcing that you're done to help you in your mind also like signal to yourself that you're done, you've had enough to eat, so that you don't get to that place where maybe you're overloading your body with too much food to digest and you can't readily absorb those nutrients like you should be. And this all kind of ties into some meal planning. So here we are with week 2, and you guys have been talking about doing some meal planning on the Facebook group too. So if you guys are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with this and the concept of now I have to figure out ratios of proteins, fats, and carbs, and be paying attention to hunger and fullness, I wanted to touch on a couple of meal planning tips for you guys. So if you're tired of cooking or cooking feels overwhelming for you, here's a couple of things I do that's really helpful. That you guys have for it, and you can basically like go on to Real Plans, and you guys can sign up and they have a ton of crockpot recipes, or you can go on to Pinterest or the internet and search for paleo type of crockpot recipes that are going to be gluten, dairy, sugar, soy free for you guys. Also, like making double the recipe and freezing the leftovers, like this can be super helpful. I do this all the time. You can freeze leftovers for a couple weeks so that when you are in a bind in a jam, you can just pop something out of the freezer, defrost it, and have it for dinner. Also, like I saw some of you guys talking about delivery services, that's a great tool or resource for those of you that are like, really busy with travel or whatever's happening with you, like having some pre-made delivery or pickup meals done. So you guys can Google search like these type of resources in your area, searching for paleo, because paleo is automatically gluten, dairy, sugar, soy free. So if you search paleo delivery or pickup services for meals, there's a ton of these types of companies that are popping up. About money, like trying to eat organic, I wanted to introduce you to this great resource from EWG, and EWG is the Environmental Working Group, and they're a nonprofit organization that is really all about delivering more information about toxins in our environment, especially in our foods. And every year they do a study on fruits and vegetables and pesticide exposure. So they produce a new list every year called the Dirty Dozen, which is the Dirty Dozen is the 12 like dirtiest foods from like most contaminated foods of pesticides and chemicals and things like that. So these are the things that you for sure want to always buy organic. So this can help you prioritize your budget. And then they also have the Clean 15. So these are the ones that are lowest in pesticides. For prioritizing your budget, you could probably buy these non-organic. You can download an app for this on your phone, which makes it super easy for you guys to, like, when you're in the grocery store, just pull up the EWG Dirty Dozen app and you can look there and be shopping and grabbing the things that you need to grab organic and prioritizing those. And also you can go to their website if that's easier for you too. If another thing that's really helpful for shopping as you get cleanse seasonally. So season is going to be there's a ton of squashes like acorn squash, spaghetti squash, butternut squash. Also, you're going to see like a lot of like root vegetables. Beets should be on sale for you guys. Also, things like rutabagas and turnips and carrots. So load up on whatever's on sale seasonally, and you guys can freeze these things too for up to a couple of weeks before they probably aren't going to be good anymore. Also, like buying or shopping at your local farmers market because they're not marking up the price in a store. That's really helpful. It's also fun for you guys to get out and do this and kind of have a good time with your food. So those are some meal planning and budgeting tips for you. And then lastly, like as we start to wrap up here, just want wanted to quickly like recap on the swap and substitutes. We covered recognizing hunger and fullness and being mindful of that to reduce digestive stress and slowing down when we're eating and eating organic. Like all of this is to reduce stress and reduce load on our detoxification system. And stress plays a big role in this too, because when we're stressed out, we release the hormone called cortisol, which kind of shuts down our metabolism, which again means that we're not absorbing nutrients like we should. So as you guys are starting to like be more mindful of this, I want you to, part of what's going to happen automatically is you're going to start slowing down because you're going to be writing down what you're eating, paying attention to hunger and fullness. And this is good because we want to make time to metabolize. So think about, again, who you're being when you're eating and how can you improve that so that you can increase the absorption of the nutrients that you're eating or putting in your mouth. So for example, if you normally are eating breakfast on the go or only giving yourself 5 minutes, make that 10 minutes. And then if it's 10 minutes, make it 15. Scheduling out time for your lunch and dinner. This is huge and something that I do. I actually schedule out at least an hour for lunch, knowing that I won't always abide for that, so that at least gives me 30 minutes. And then dinner too, like I have a very I have a strict rule in my house where I'm done working by 7 so that I have time to sit down and really enjoy my dinner. And something else that might help you guys just to slow down is chewing each bite 20 times. When we actually slow down and chew, we produce more enzymes, digestive enzymes or salivary enzymes in our mouth that help to break down the food in our mouth before it even hits our stomach. So that ease some of the work on the stomach. The stomach doesn't have to work as hard, and that means that you can actually absorb more nutrients when you do that. So slowing down and chewing each bite 20 times is really helpful. And then something that I love to use with every client is what I call a 5-5-7 breath. So you're going to inhale for 5 seconds, you would hold that for 5 seconds, and you would exhale for 7. And what this does is it helps us to flip the switch in our brain to immediately take us out of stress mode, or what's known as fight or flight mode, and put us into the rest and digest or parasympathetic mode. And this will work in any situation that you guys have. So if you're feeling anxious about anything, like I had a client that used this technique when she was anxious about flying. She said it worked instantaneously for her. I use it sometimes that you can use before every meal. So if you do catch yourself like eating on the go, maybe you're stressed out because you just had a stressful client or something happened at work and you're about to sit down to eat your lunch, you don't want to eat in a stressful state. It's going to reduce the nutrients that you can absorb. So you can do this quick breathing exercise. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, and exhale for 7. You can do that anywhere from 5 to 10 times, and that's going to help to take you out of that stress, fight, or flight response, like I said, put you into rest and digest parasympathetic mode so you can absorb your nutrients, reduce your digestive stress, and really support your body and what it needs and promote the detoxification system itself. I've seen some of you guys being a bit hard on yourself and on the Facebook group, and wishing that you were doing better or getting caught up in making choices that are not in alignment with your body, and that's totally normal. It always happens. And first, I want to say is that there is no such thing as failure. It's not your fault. There's only feedback. Whenever you get stuck in a situation like that and you make a choice that is not in alignment with what you want, your body and your mind are trying to tell you something. So let's examine the situation curiously here for just a second, because part of what's happening when you default to those old tendencies or those old habits, we have this portion of our brain called the critter brain. It's the oldest part of our brain, and it's our built-in survival system. So it wants to repeat what it knows that it can survive, even if that means making choices that are not so great for us. So it has this really positive intention to keep us safe, even though it might not be the best choice. So let's say you're stuck in a social setting where you know that there's healthy choices, but you choose to eat dairy or gluten. And maybe there's something going on in that social situation, like you feel a little uncomfortable around the people that you're around. Maybe it's like a work dinner. You're trying to impress, you feel like you're going to get judged as a result of that, and so you default to eating what everybody else is eating, even though that's not the choice that you want to make. Well, your brain at that point in time is just trying to get you to survive this situation. So it goes, okay, I don't know if I can survive the situation by making a new choice right now, because I might get judged for that, or something might happen, like people are going to question me, and I don't know how to handle that. So I'm going to default. I know that if I eat this gluten and dairy right now, I can survive that. It's happened a million times. It's totally okay. So we default to that old habit. So whenever this happens, when your critter brain intervenes, what I want you guys, and if you've been seeing me kind of comment on some of the Facebook group about this, is what I want you to do is replace that judgment, beating yourself up over the choice, with curiosity. And ask yourself, like, what triggered that? Why did you make that choice? Did you feel like you were going to be judged by others? Were you not, confident in standing up for yourself and saying that this is important? Do you need to communicate with your partner about the choices that you want to make? And how can you create that more safe environment next time? What can you do differently now that you know what's triggering you or how you got stuck in that situation? So maybe it's eating before you go to the party, or drinking more water, or avoid talking into negative people that trigger you, and then you want to comfort yourself with some kind of food. Like I said earlier, maybe it's having a conversation with your partner or your friends about the new choices that you're making and getting them to understand that so that you don't feel on the spot when you're put in that situation. And ultimately, like, also part of this is surrounding yourself with the people who stretch you to be your best. And that's also part of why we have the Facebook group community, is to reach out and know that you have a circle of people that are going through the exact same thing, and we're all here to support each other. So don't let this get you down. This is a learning experience. Remember, this is part of the journey. It's going to help you get better. Like, every situation that you encounter is an opportunity to learn from it so that you can take it one day at a time and get better the next time. All right, you guys, so that's going to wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and type it in. I know that for those that were on the call live, I was kind of in and out. So if there's anything that I missed, just going through here. Beverly, just wrapping back around to what you were saying about the castor oil pack. I'm wondering if breaking a little bit more. That's never happened before with the castor oil pack. It's very interesting. It could mean a couple of things. I mean, I wonder if you're having a reaction to the wool itself. Maybe try putting some castor oil on like a different part of your skin to see if you have that same reaction. Breaking out on my face. Oh, you're breaking out on your face. Oh, that's a total detox reaction, girl. Breaking out on your face. Anytime that if you guys are experiencing like acne, usually that's a detoxification sign, especially during the also be a hormone thing. So let's keep an eye on that, Beverly. And then the red bumps on the castor oil on the stomach. Yeah, with the castor oil, try that on another part of your skin. Like, see if that happens again somewhere else. And Kristen says, what about confusion? Last week I felt confused a lot or would forget that I was saying in the middle of a sentence. That's brain Kristen. And that's a totally normal sign of detoxification too. Um, and this week you feel better. So for sure, that's a detoxification thing for sure. So I'm glad that you're feeling better, Kristen. That's a good sign. Beverly says, I've been on my period, which is when I break out, but it's more than usual. Yeah, so this is interesting, Beverly. Let's keep an eye on this for sure because I just want to make sure that you're not, that's could be linked to like estrogen dominance kind of symptoms here, which your liver is estrogen, so we're supporting the liver in doing that right now. A little something with the gut group also, so let's just keep an eye on that. And if it becomes something that keeps happening all the time, and Beverly also said that's so interesting about slowing down before you eat. Yeah, I mean, this is huge, you guys. I just went to Europe for 23 days, and every meal took like 2 hours. They eat really slow. They really sit down and enjoy their food. And I was eating a lot of things that I wouldn't normally eat. Like I definitely had a lot of gluten, or at least just like wheat products and dairy, and I had zero digestive upset. And if I have that stuff in the States, I get usually digestive upset. And sometimes I even get digestive upset from eating foods that aren't those things. But I often will be able to correlate that with the fact that I was like stressed out or eating on the go because I was rushing maybe to a client when I had like a super jammed day that I, just had to cram things in. And when I slow down to eat, it doesn't happen. So something to be really mindful about. I mean, I've with clients, like just getting them to slow down before they eat to de-stress, like has helped them to get rid of acid reflux and heartburn and bloating and anxiety and IBS. So it is really, really fascinating. So if you guys are experiencing any of that, first of all, eliminating these inflammatory foods, it's going to help with that. And second of all, like really